As the state's legalized recreational marijuana industry continues to grow, leaders at American International College think its students should be able to cash in. It now offers classes and a certificate program that teaches students about a variety of aspects of the industry. Mika Nash, Executive Vice President of Academic Affairs at AIC, says that know-how will translate to jobs for its students. She spoke with Carrie Saldo about the details.
The only way that we can really talk about it is to kind of understand it in the broader context of AIC. So AIC is a school that was built on providing access to people who had traditionally been left out of higher education. And so when you think about providing access to those folks, you have to also think about when you bring people in, what can you prepare them for? How can they be successful when they leave? And so when we're looking at potential programs, we're looking at where is there growth, and there's tremendous growth in the cannabis industry. Just since it became legal in Massachusetts, it's grown. It's going to be about a $420 million business by the end of this year, and we're looking at $1 billion by the end of next year. And so with that revenue, there's tremendous need for personnel and staffing, people who are expert in the field and who can hit the ground running. And so we saw this as really an extension of our mission of providing opportunity for students.
And I noticed that the program is available to students who might already be full-time AIC students, but I think more to your point, people who might be out there working now who don't want to be a full-time student but see this program as an opportunity. Have you heard from those people? Have you seen interest from more of those people than maybe even your full-time students?
Yeah, I think it's been a good blend. I think our full-time students are seeing it as really kind of an interesting offering that we have not ever had before. People from outside, it's in a variety of ways. People have heard about it and are kind of asking. People who are already working in the industry and want to know a bit more. People who are maybe disenfranchised workers who are looking to get into an area where there's so much need for skilled professionals. And so, yeah, we're fielding a lot of calls about it.
And as I understand it, the program will start to begin in the spring of 2020 with one course.
One course.
It'll be a certificate program overall, and then eventually maybe expanding beyond that. But let's look at some of the nuts and bolts that are closer to being rolled out, which is the Cannabis Entrepreneurship Program, and that's the one that starts in the spring. What are the nuts and bolts of that?
Yeah, so the certificate in general is a 3-course certificate that each course is worth 3 credits. The first course is entrepreneurship, and the entrepreneurship course is really focused on both the product itself, but also the ancillary businesses around the product. So we know that cannabis itself is a burgeoning field, but there are delivery methods for cannabis. So you look at glass, you look at pre-roll stuff, you look at maybe the extruders in terms of the processing, law, banking, clothing, anything that's related in some way. And so that course looks at the theory of entrepreneurship and applies it in a very focused way to cannabis.
And so is AIC's thinking, going back to what we were saying originally, both appealing to those traditional and non-traditional students, is the thinking now that, okay, you go through this certificate program and you can go out and get a job in this industry?
Yeah, that's right. We've been talking a lot to corporate folks. It's interesting because you don't think about cannabis as being a corporate enterprise. It feels a little more kind of loose. It's not anymore.
No, especially when Colorado has had such a heavy hand in the businesses that have already established themselves here in Massachusetts.
That's right. And so when we talk to people, what they're saying is, they talk to folks in corporate, what they're saying is, we really need high quality professionals who understand the field and who can immediately contribute, as opposed to needing a lot of training to get up and running. So
do you know who will be teaching the courses? Is it going to be some of those people who are already involved in the industry?
Yeah. Although our entrepreneurship course, the first time it's being taught right away is being taught by one of our established tenured professors, because he's an entrepreneurship guy and he's been really successful and is connected to folks in the field. So he'll be a great person to start.
And then moving forward, looking at some of those other pieces, the legal and the ethical piece are 2 pieces that I think people who are concerned about marijuana talk about a lot, that the law was made too quickly, that it was basically built by interest groups. And then the ethics of it, right? Is this going to fall into the hands of children, things like that? Is that, I know the curriculum's still being built, but are those things that you're taking into account when you look at this?
Yeah, that course is the most fascinating one for me. I think the whole certificate is just really exciting, but that course itself is so interesting because it looks at the tension that exists between state and federal law, and there's tremendous tension in any state that's gone legal. And then it also looks at each community's relationship to the organization, to that retail operation, because those contracts really stipulate articles around how do we want you to be in this space? How do we want you to show up? What does it mean to be a member of this community? Which is something that isn't happening with most other businesses, you know? So I think it's an opportunity to really think about law and policy and how it's going to continue to evolve and to shift, but also to think about the ethical obligation of organizations like this, retail operations, medical dispensaries, in considering what's my ethical obligation to this community, and to continue to leave it better than we found it.
Holyoke Community College has also rolled out a few classes related to marijuana. Are you collaborating with them in any way, or talking with each other about what you're doing?
That is so nascent at this point. The hope is that we will get to a place. We would love for them, if they consider offering for credit. That's really, right now what they're doing, from my understanding, is mostly training based, so it's non-credit professional development, and we're looking at for credit offerings. So if they get to a place where there's credit, we would love to be able to articulate with them and to provide that sort of next step for their students. But yeah, I mean, I think that all of that will come as we get more evolved around the work that we're doing.
And then eventually you'd like to offer a graduate program around this too. What's the timetable for that?
It's short. So this is another thing that's very exciting. So because the field is growing so quickly, and because there isn't a lot of formal education in this area, we'd like to be one of the first to market. And that, if all goes well, that will roll out in the fall. And that will be a master's degree in the business of cannabis, with about 40% of it really focused on the science around it. So looking at the chemistry, the delivery methods, the way in which the body reacts, you know, some of the thinking around curative properties, that kind of thing.
So how much of this is, you know, a standard business degree that you would get for any business program, and then how much of it is rooted specifically to the marijuana or cannabis industry?
I think for both the certificate program and the graduate degree, it really is, everything is undergirded by this thinking about business. These are business programs, and the graduate degree will have a lot of science baked in. But the focus, so you've got the central tenets and the concepts that are business oriented, and so universalizable in that way. And then they're speaking in a much more sort of laser way to cannabis. But as I think about the ways in which these can be tweaked, you have to look micro emerging markets, sort of cannabis. Anything could be placed in that space. So maybe CBD is the next. Maybe it's craft beer or artisanal cheeses. You know, and it's just the way in which we apply these concepts to a certain field.
And then in terms of offering these new programs to people, have you had any pushback saying, you know, marijuana is not an industry that educators should be touching?
I think that that's always going to be something that we're gonna have to wrestle with, right? I mean, it's legal, and yet it still has a stigma attached to it. And what I'm learning, the more that I spend time with the corporate folks, the more I'm seeing that there's a long history around this product, and there's a lot to be learned and harnessed there. And so I think it's about education and learning more about what the opportunities are there, and how do you keep it integrity filled and ethical, the learning, the building, all of that.